Ahoy, hoy, friends! Welcome to the Salon. Welcome to new Star Trek discussion. Very excited tonight. We are talking about the first two episodes of the second season of Star Trek Prodigy, now streaming on Netflix. Super excited to have almost the full crew tonight. Welcome, Saloners. How's everybody doing? Talk over each other just real quick.
Good.
Yay, everything's great. I'm really happy to be
talking
here.
over each other. Talking.
Super excited to have you. We've got two Saloners moved into their new place. Welcome home, Will and Matt. Excited for the both of you. Krista, hopefully you'll join them at some point soon. I know that's been an ongoing nightmare for you. Hopefully soon to be alleviated and you can get rid of all of the wings of your home. It's inside joke. She has a normal size home.
Normal size home.
Normal size.
Wow.
For people in her life, yeah, that is a normal sized home, you know.
Well, tonight we are going to wait for the motorcycle to pass. And then, as I said, talking about Star Trek Prodigy, it died. And then thanks to fan outcry, it was brought back, resurrected in true Star Trek fashion. And now it's on Netflix. Highly encourage everybody to stream both seasons, rewatch them. The first couple of days and the first month are really important for getting a third season. And encourage friends and family to do it as well. I've been delighted with this season, but with both of them, I truly feel like this is an excellent entry point into the Star Trek franchise for a lot of new people. So definitely want to encourage folks to check it out if they haven't yet. Before we deep dive into the episode, we also wanted to highlight some of fun Star Trek news that's been happening over the last couple of weeks. So it was just announced that the Star Trek Universe panel will be happening again at San Diego Comic-Con. So we'll hopefully be getting some fun updates. They've announced that Section 31 will be part of that presentation, the streaming movie that's coming soon. Starfleet Academy will have some updates. We also got casting news this week. The first 3 cadets in Starfleet Academy have been announced, which is super exciting. Star Trek Lower Decks, with their 5th and final season coming later this year, hopefully sooner than later, they will be presenting. And also Star Trek Prodigy will be having a panel on Sunday. So that's super exciting to see. The Star Trek universe is alive and well. We've got lots of fun stuff coming up, and we'll be talking about it in future salons. And I hope everybody is as excited as I am. And speaking of Star Trek news as well, the future of Star Trek is in potentially new hands soon. Speaking of resurrection, the Skydance deal that was announced to be dead has been resurrected, and it's been approved by the CEO suite and the board. It's going through their 45-day period. What's it called? There's a 45-day period where other people can offer bids before it goes to regulators to make sure that the dots are I'd and the T's are whatevered phrases. But the good news is, even though consolidation is bad, this particular consolidation going to Skydance Media, the chief of Skydance is a Star Trek fan, has been a producer on Star Trek films. So I choose to believe the future of Star Trek is bright in these new hands. That's the Star Trek news. Anybody want to share their thoughts on anything that they've been seeing over the last couple of days?
I thought that the Variety and the Hollywood Reporter stories, which listed the franchises, each of them made a point of saying that the biggest gem in Paramount's franchise list is Star Trek. And yes, Ellison is a big Star Trek fan. So I think this was the best possible of all the options that were out there for Paramount. I think this was the best possible one for the future of Star Trek. So I'm hopeful. And I think that the future is bright. You know, they talked again about the movies and that they've got 2 movies in development, and that the one about the origins of Starfleet and the Federation and all that is the one that's taking the lead. And then they've also got what is being billed as the final Chris Pine fast movie. So they've got those. They seem to lean more on the movie side than the Paramount Plus side. But they said overall Star Trek is their gem. So that was nice to see.
All
Just my
right.
2 cents.
Let's move forward. We are talking tonight about Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. Now, before we do, as always, we must set an intention.
Welcome, Saloners. It's been a while since we've set an intention. It's been a whole 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know. It feels too long. Anywho, thought it would be fun if we went around the room and discussed who wasn't in this episode. Truly, I'd like to know who in the Star Trek universe, who's alive at the time of this episode, you would love to have seen assigned to the Voyager A. So they can be from any show as long as they're still alive. So don't delve too far back into Star Trek's past. I could share examples from our pre-show chat, but I won't, of going a little too far into the past. But my choice for this wonderful exercise is the lovely and talented and brilliant Professor Keiko O'Brien. I think this would have been a really cool opportunity to take a TNG/DS9 character, put her into a scientific voyage, a scientific vessel, and give us a little O'Brien update. I'd like to know what the kids are up to, what the chief's doing, and find out a little bit more about Keiko. And I think she would have made a great addition to the entire season, not just these first 2 episodes. So with that, we will now go around the room as always. I will start with Joanne. Joanne, my love, who would you like to have seen added to the Voyager A crew?
So I would have liked to have seen one. I think she's alive. My Voyager is kind of rusty, but Naomi Wildman. I think she could have been, she could have taken Essenzia's spot at the con because Janeway needs someone she could trust. You know what I mean? After all of that brouhaha. So, her for sure. And my second choice was Counselor Troy because we need to have a very special episode, I think, with Zero about, boundaries and private thoughts and
The
all of that.
concept of our inside thoughts. Yes.
Right.
Absolutely. I love it. I absolutely love it. Matt, dear.
So the thing is, I was going to say Naomi Wildman because I didn't have anyone else that I can even think of to say.
You have to say it like 7.
Yeah, and honestly, as cheesy as it is, because that would be later in. Yeah, Naomi was like my one that I was like that because she'd be perfect. She'd be absolutely perfect to be like a commander or something, or a lieutenant commander under Admiral Janeway, and she still gets to be the captain's assistant, except you now see her, she's the admiral's assistant and she's actually a badass. Like, she's able to do shit, and you can see that, like, you have that parallel in the character, but like she was always growing. And just because you're the assistant doesn't mean you can't still be like kick-ass commander. I don't know.
There are no rules about double dipping. You're allowed to double dip because remember, the only rules apply to candles, not your answers.
And at least I'm in good company.
Krista Love, who would you like to see on the Voyager A?
Okay, well, I read the question and I thought I understood it, and then we got Gandhi and Mr. Jesus, Edith, and I was like, wait, I don't think I understood it. So in the Genghis Khan area, I was thinking Tyler Durden would be fun, but if it's got to be a Star Trek character, and solely because I'm in a destructive state of mind at this point in my existence after the last 2 weeks, I would like to see Garrick. Just to watch
plain simple Garrick.
Yeah, to watch Janeway and Garrick interact.
He's just there, no reason. He's just like, hey, like him and Janeway became friends. He's just like, hey, girl, what's up? Just there,
He's
no
knitting.
reason.
He's just like,
he's there for uniform maintenance. He's in the.
That's why the uniforms keep changing. Garrick's bored. He comes in, he goes, oh no, you're gonna take that off, and puts her in a uniform.
Of the laundromat, of the whatever laundromat they have, he's in charge of that. And but really, I did not understand the question, but I love Garrick, and I would think that the two of them together would be sort of explosively entertaining.
You know, if I had a nickel for every time Krista misunderstood yet still nailed the assignment, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but I love that it's happened twice.
You know what else you'd have? You know what else you'd have is what Krista's getting. Bonus points.
Yay!
Ken, dear.
So I was thinking about continuity, and I think that given where Voyager went in its last season of the Voyager series, I think it would have made sense for Reginald Barclay to serve on Voyager, considering that he was so involved with helping Voyager get home and the whole Voyager project and all that sort of stuff. I would think that he would have loved to have been there with Janeway and the crew. So Barclay is my choice.
And we don't meet Voyager A's chief engineer, do we? Or do we? I don't think we do. No. So that would have been
not on these first 2 episodes, at least.
That would have been a fun place for him to materialize.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Will?
So my thought was either Barclay because of his connection with the Voyager crew, or I thought of someone who would be a fun wild card to randomly be there would be Ro, because Janeway has a history of rehabilitating Maquis, so it would be interesting to have Ro and her kind of pair together, considering her relationship with Chakotay, all of that. Maybe dig a little bit into maybe Ro and Chakotay had maybe something in the past, something. But I was like, oh, that'd be interesting to see her as like the helmsman or her first officer, even though I love that sassy gay Andorian she's got, Tysus. But I particularly would have really liked to have seen Ro on the season. It would have been great to see her on there. Because she still would have been alive, even though she might be, but might not. But in my brain, she's dead, but she'd still be technically alive at this point.
I mean, who doesn't love a sassy gay Andorian, really?
I mean, I felt represented.
Fearless leader.
I love all of these ideas, although timey-wimey stuff, I find myself looking at this timeline calendar thing a lot because I get confused. It's only been 6 years since Voyager got back, so I don't think Naomi Wildman, because they gestate quicker, not gestate, that's pregnancy, I think. They grow quicker. I think it's possible that she would be in the academy and one of the cadets at this point, so that would be fun. But my wild card is Rios, because this is enough time before what we saw in Picard season 1, obviously. So a Lieutenant Rios on the Voyager A would be really cool to see.
And this is just out of curiosity, and I should know the timeline better, jokes aside. But Picard, how long was he out of Starfleet when he met Picard? Did we ever know that?
I'll have to check again, but they insinuate it's been at least a couple of years.
Yeah, like 5 or 6 years, wasn't it? Like,
yeah,
I would think.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because right now in Prodigy, right now it's 2385 or 2384 technically in these first 2 episodes. So it's been 6 years since Voyager. The synth attack on Mars hasn't happened yet, which kickstarts Picard season 1 really, and then the events pick up 14 years later.
Right.
So yeah,
but they do make reference, I think, in these first 2 episodes, they make reference to the Romulan evacuation.
Yes. I was going to pick Rafi, but then I realized she's on the Verity with Picard right now. She's Picard's XO in that mission. And quick plug, this book is excellent, from Una McCormack, The Last Best Hope. It's basically infill his promotion to Admiral and what happens prior to the first season of Star Trek Picard. Lots of fun stuff I wish we could see on screen, but super fun.
Una McCormick is just an awesome author. You can't go wrong with any of her books. But I agree with you. Yeah.
All right.
Yay.
Anything else?
And now,
All right. Well, let's get into it. Excellent intention setter as
No.
always. Always love to see it, Trevor, and love to hear it from the entire crew. And now we're going to talk about Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2. We're going to do 2 episodes a week. So over the course of the next 11 weeks, because we will be taking that Thursday of STLV off to be drunken fools. But
More than
let's
usual.
more than usual, and in person with many of us. The
Yeah.
team that you see on your screen will be together, and hopefully Krista and Joanne will join us next year. Now, a quick note before we do dive into the episode with our top thoughts. I do want to just say that while Star Trek Prodigy is a wonderful television program for everyone, it is, of course, geared a little bit towards children and families, which we love. This show, however, is not geared towards children and families. So just want to throw that out there for anybody that the algorithm catches off guard. We are irreverent, gay and allied drinking messes. We talk about all Star Trek. We swear we're a mess. So if you came here looking for some good family fun, talking about this good family show, not the place. But God love you and may you live long and prosper. That out of the way, let's get into our top thoughts on episodes 1 and 2. I love Star Trek Prodigy. I think start to finish, it's been excellent. I'm loving the whole season, but I'm going to try and keep my thoughts focused on these first 2 episodes. I thought they did an excellent job of picking things back up, recapping what you missed last time on Star Trek Prodigy. They introduced new characters. They introduced a new beautiful ship, even with its uncomfortable interior. They set up the fun over the next 10 and 20 episodes really well. We get new foils, we get old foils. It's a beautiful show. The animation is done incredibly well. The voice acting is incredible. I love seeing Janeway back in action. There is a little bit, I felt, of Dal backsliding in some of his old annoying ways, but the kernels of growth that we're going to see across the season are there. And I kind of love that Catherine Janeway is just like, girl, fuck that treaty. I'm going to go get my bestie. And what are the Romulans going to do? They're busy right now, crumbling. So those are my top thoughts. William, how about you?
I agree. I think the first 2 episodes is a setup to the season. I'm going to try and refrain from my overall thought. Well, I thought it was excellent. I think these first 2 episodes are pretty indicative of the kind of muddiness we get into later that they sort through, but it's not. If there's some muddiness in terms of like them explaining what's going on and everything, so we get a little bit of that in these first 2 episodes. Each episode moves at a pace that is like breakneck. It is like they wrote an hour episode and then cut out all of the filler just to get to the main stuff, to get it down to the 22 minutes, which is admirable because they feel like a fully like. Sometimes I'll watch it and I go, this was only 20 minutes. Like so much has happened. Like even rereading the synopsis, I was like, oh yeah, this all happened in these 2 episodes. But I think everyone's doing a great job. I think Catherine Mulgrew is really turning it out as the voice of Janeway. I think she's kind of fallen back in love with the character and like what her role is in this season and this iteration of Janeway. I think she's kind of rediscovered the spark of Catherine Janeway, which is great to hear in her voice because at some points in the first season I felt she was maybe phoning it in a little bit, but yeah, I think it's a great setup for the season. I think it sets expectations pretty high. Visuals are a little weird. While the first season I thought was so hyper specific with the visuals of the protostar and everything else, it felt like a very singular, very specific I think they're very specific, and I Catherine Morgan, Kate, whatever, girl, shut up. But I think that sometimes the visuals of the Voyager A and everything are a little ugh, like it's a little gross. Like I see what they were going for, but it's a little gross. Anyway, but great start to the season. And it set expectations high, and I think they continued it consistently through the season.
So I agree with everything that's been said. It's very clear that all the people who are producing this show love Star Trek and love writing and love television, and just love telling a good story. When I watched episode 1, I was like, oh, so they're sticking with the opening credits with the protostar, even though the protostar is no more. And I thought that was an interesting thing. So that got me going, thinking. And then seeing Robert Beltran in the opening credits right away, I was like, okay, so he's going to be a regular. And I also thought it was pretty cool that they hid until the second opening credits Robert Picardo as the Doctor. I thought that was a nice little thing. So, I agree with what you were saying about it. It's hard to believe that this is only 22-minute episodes because they pack in so much, and none of our main characters, and arguably none of the characters, are really left on the sideline. They all have good things to do. They all have good character moments, especially the kids have good character moments, but everyone, even the secondary leadership of Voyager, they all have good character moments. And I loved how they sort of brought everybody in, kind of like what they were planning to do with one of the Star Trek the original series movies that all got cut, was to sort of show each one of the cast where they are, and then they all sort of come together. I mean, that I thought maybe that was almost like a tribute to what they were planning to do. I think it was in Star Trek 4, I think it was. No, Star Trek, anyone, I don't know. Maybe I'm making it up because, it's Star Trek and I make shit up all the time. Anyway, I thought it was very, very well done. And I'm looking forward to what the rest of the season has to say, saying as if I haven't seen all the episodes. But for the purposes of this show, I have not yet. So, Krista.
Okay, so I'm watching them as we're doing them. So I watched the first 2 and I haven't watched any further. So I'll watch the other 2 next week. But I think the setup is great. All of the characters, I was happy to see all of them again. I love the use of the word cockamamie. It's a very Tilly word. Also, though, in the context of a kid show and a family show, anything with the word cock in it makes me feel a little dirty, but I got over it. I think it's a good setup. I'm not. And Stan, I don't think you're going to get your wish that Chakotay is going to. I don't think they're gonna. They waxed poetic for about 5 minutes.
I'm just gonna keep hoping. Teach the babies about death and loss. Kill Chakotay.
Possibly. And then I read in Memory Alpha that the thing that shows up and talks to Janeway, they're referring to it as an orb, and I was like, I would much prefer that orb to be Cisco than Chakotay. That would be good times for me, but I don't think that's going to happen either. But I think ultimately it was a good setup, and mostly I agree with you that Dahl did do a backslide that was sort of, I was kind of like, but of the other characters, they were all so just excited about everything that they were doing and the opportunity. And Rock Talk remains my favorite. I love that she loves math, she loves science, and I think all of them really are good representations of what we would like, information that we would like to be imparted to kids now, choosing math and science by choice versus by force, and letting them know that they can have fun with that and they can do things with that. So that's kind of a more philosophical, but I'm a little upset that they've named that Nova Squad bitch Majel. It's like, why would you? What is her fucking problem? I don't understand the hierarchy on the ship. Somebody explain it to me. That this bitch just walks in and she's just like, this one needs to be arrested. This one needs to be. Who the fuck are you? Somebody explain it to me as an adult about this kids show. What is this girl's fucking problem?
I am so excited for you. Yeah, the first couple of episodes, I was like, fuck this bitch. All I will say is that there is an interesting arc for Majel. No spoilers for Krista.
I liked that they gave her the telepathy. I mean, even though it is indigenous and part of the species, I like
Vulcan.
that. Yes, I like that we got a little Waxana.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, those are my initial thoughts. I feel dirty.
I have to first say I fully agree. The first few episodes for me, especially looking back on this now, because I am, getting through the end, Dal is really hard to even want to see on. Like, it hurts to watch. Like, I get that it's a kid's show and like you have to take that into account too, but like it's almost just a little like, ugh. It's I don't know. I love the whole thing. And of course now Aaron Walke is in the chat correcting me.
Yeah, defend yourself, Matt. Defend
step on
yourself.
this.
The executive
Get it,
producer
like-
is calling you out, rightfully
I
so.
know.
Aaron, everybody in the salon agrees with you. Matt's
No,
getting
I'm not
fired later
saying-
tonight.
I'm not saying that it's a bad choice. I'm just saying I find it difficult to watch. Just because I also like, you have to remember, we have to all, let me put the other the other caveat on this, that I don't like children. I don't know how to get along with them. I don't know how they act. Like, I'm not a child thing. So like for me, this is like having to, communicate.
You know what, Matt?
With
We're gonna have to have you cosplay doll now at
I do look good in
at
purple,
SLV.
apparently.
Yeah, there you do.
But no, besides moving on from that, I started out with the smallest, lowest thing. I'm obsessed and absolutely in love with all the rest of the characters. I love what they've done with each of them. I love that Rog has kept that like childlike wonder while still knowing all of the secrets of the universe at this point. Like, she's incredible. We got, I don't remember if that's the first two episodes now.
Don't risk it then. Don't ruin my vibe.
Ops. I mean, we all know Cetacean Ops is there, but
yeah, it's there.
I forget
Yeah,
if that
it's
was.
there.
Love that one, and of course
It's
the
beautiful
Voyager A.
too.
The Voyager A,
Yeah.
for me, this is going to be big for everyone in the salon that understands this. Aaron, if you're still listening and haven't shut this off, you'll hopefully appreciate it later. I owe you a drink, Scotch on the rocks, I promise. I think the Voyager A might be better than the Sovereign class for me. I might be officially willing to say that I'm going to have to get another tattoo of it now. I have my Sovereign on the one leg. I have another leg. You got to do another, another ship on the other leg. I really love the Voyager A. I think it is the perfect bridge between that like TNG era sleek hotel style design and the very like military high panels, complicated thing that we're seeing in like the newer eras of Picard and everything. I absolutely, sorry, Scotch neat. I take it on the rocks. You can have it neat. Sorry. No, but I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the shuttle design, all of the design. I will say, I echo everybody else that I wish the interior was a little warmer, a little more Starfleet, a little less Star Wars almost. But I absolutely loved the first two episodes. It's the perfect start into a really, really great season 2, like overall, that has been it has. I just want to say my overall season 2 thought too so far. This has
Deep breaths,
fulfilled.
Matt. It's fine. Deep breaths.
No, I'm
You're
Yeah,
do-
calm
excited.
down.
it's
Like,
okay.
I haven't been on the salon in weeks, but I'm really excited because it has ticked all of my favorite boxes, and you guys know how I am about time travel. So
And you've needed your box ticked for a while.
I
Joanne,
have.
what are
Yes,
your
yes,
top
yes.
thoughts on season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy's first 2 episodes?
So I like them. I'm on my second kind of watch now. I pushed through the first 20 without like taking in like a lot of detail just because I struggle with the animation style. It's just not my favorite. So it takes me a minute to kind of step into the universe as it were. So now watching it again and watching these first two, I'm going to say it every time because it just deserves to be said. You recognize how well crafted Prodigy is, the most well crafted, well structured story in Trek today. And watching these first 2 episodes again, you just see how they have clearly really set up the characters and set an intention. Huh? See what I did there? About where the story is going to go, and you know they introduce the situation well. Um, I agree, Dal is a lot, but a lot of kids are a lot. And in kind of the same way that are excited about Rock, choosing math and science, I think it's really important that Dal is a lot and they still haven't deterred him from command and are affirming the leader in him. So, as somebody who's also a lot and often too much, I appreciate that, right? So even though sometimes just like I have to tell myself like, girl, sit down. Um it's a lot, but someone supported the leader in me, and so I'm glad they're still affirming the leader in Dow. But I'm excited now, kind of on this second watch, to just kind of immerse in the universe and watch the story unfold. Trev.
I just couldn't get over the how good of a season premiere these first 2 episodes are. Like it does everything it needs to do in such great time in terms of it's been a while, so it catches us up fairly quickly. The story itself is spelled out for us, and it starts, but there are mysteries, but there's things that we need to know that we're told. So from just a storytelling perspective, I enjoy the episodes for that. For Doll, I think I was a I was an early Doll defender last season, but I think, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to like interpret things for you, but there's an emotion that Doll brings out in me that is I've only just on my third rewatch, which was earlier today of these 2 episodes. I was just able to kind of articulate for myself, which is that I feel kind of sad for Doll. Like I get like particularly when he's talking about missing sort of the good old days of them just having their own ship and doing their own thing. They were the first and are the first family Dolls ever had. And I get this orphaned kid who was treated horribly by this, the Ferengi that not really adopted him, but kept him around and used him. And so I get like a sense of loneliness of like, oh, we had a really cool thing and then it fell apart. Even though it didn't fall apart, they're at Starfleet, they're doing their thing, but like they aren't off doing their own thing. That makes me sad only because it was kind of a hard lesson for me to learn as a kid of like, you get your core group of friends together and then your dad's job moves you. And so you've got to like start all over again. And I was never good at that. My husband's an Army brat, so he did it every 2 years, or a former Army brat, I should say. So he's very good at like moving and meeting new people and starting all over again. And I'm not, even though I'm a little bit of an obnoxious extrovert. It takes me a while to kind of warm up to new people and new situations. And so I just kind of get a little sad around it. And I don't experience that with the other characters. So that's the rub for me. It doesn't make me not like him. Or not like his trajectory. It just makes me a little sad, which is fine. I think characters making you sad is okay. But that's kind of where it lands for me with that particular character. With everyone else, I was not a huge Doctor fan on Voyager, and I am in this. So I appreciate that whatever both, when what's on the page is meeting the stage and what Picardo is doing with it, it's magical because I really enjoy him, and I didn't dislike the Doctor in Voyager. I just wasn't a huge fan of Doctor-centric episodes, and I really enjoy the character in Prodigy and in these first 2 episodes. Also, kind of love the whole concept of the Shuttle Bay 3 and that being slipped up, and the secret shuttle bay on the ship kind of cracked me up, and the whole concept of it was fun. So I was delighted. I'm even more delighted for Krista, who's going to be watching these as we go, because there are mysteries that have been set up that will be answered very shortly, and some that won't be answered for a while. And I just am excited for her to learn them, because there are a couple that I was elated for. So more to come.
And none of my terrible jokes about Admiral Janeway dying. I didn't mention that I put out on Twitter that I will honor her memory by not spoiling Prodigy. And somebody messaged me. There's like, wait, isn't that a spoiler? And I was like, oh, you haven't. Okay, I thought it was obvious because she's name dropped in Picard. She's still alive 20 years from now. We're fine. And apparently that was not the case for everybody. Twitter is fun.
Are you suggesting that there was someone on Twitter that didn't understand sarcasm?
Oh God. Speaking of sarcasm, I agree with you. No, I actually do agree with you. Super excited about what happened with the Doctor in Prodigy, because I kind of agree. Not to put words in your mouth, I personally felt at times the Doctor on Voyager was a bit of a creep. Not like Julian Bashir levels creep, but definitely a creep. And so it was super cool to see him in a mentor figure role. It was really cool. It was an excellent use of a hologram character that they're used to following. So it was a nice bridge for them to keep going. And I think Robert Picardo lends his voice really well to this. But the Doctor being that new bridge to the new Voyager, I thought was a really lovely touch. And I like him throughout. So speaking about the Doctor and some new faces, just want to open it up to talk about the characters, new and old. Matt, you look like you were about to pop in, so go for it.
Oh, I was actually going to say, like, it's nice to actually see the Doctors, and this kind of is a bridge in between. Seeing the Doctor's mentor role as an actual mentor, and not in that creepy, "Here, Seven, I'm going to help you learn and also teach you about your sexuality." Like it was almost like, okay, now this is what the character was supposed to be, but you didn't have that 90s lens of like, we have to have something else going on here. I think they're doing such a great job. Tysus is so fantastic. I love that we get more Andorians. I absolutely love the Andorians. I know that one of the limitations on seeing them obviously is, budgetary for, an Andorian makeup to look real, and in theory also have like opposable antenna and everything would be super cost prohibitive. But it's nice that this is the medium we can see so many more actual aliens on the show. And I think that is one of my favorite things about any of the animated series, is it's not just like, I can totally headcanon that, okay, the progenitors dropped all of the DNA and all of the humanoid species. Like, I get that. Totally on board. It's a fun little explanation. But it's nice that we're also saying, and on top of all of this strain of people, there's also, these other sentient life forms that aren't humanoid or didn't come from that. And we finally get to see that in this. And I think it's really amazing. So honestly, my thoughts are all of them are fantastic. And I really love how much care they're putting into the universe. It doesn't feel, this is getting a little, but like, it doesn't feel very like nostalgia heavy. Everything makes sense. Any of the characters that are coming in make sense. And that's what I can really appreciate.
So I would say, sorry, Krista.
We'll go to Ken first, but then yes, Krista, I saw your hand, and we appreciate the hand.
Yes, we appreciate the hand. it's not nostalgia. There's not a lot of nostalgia. Like they don't do the fan service for saying, "Hey, we're doing fan service," but at the same time, they have the comments with Raw Talk doing the, just saying, and I taught the triple. I know how to stop triples from multiplying, and just that's a throwaway line, and it's so cool. And the concept of as soon as you see the doctor, I'm a doctor, not a butler, and the reference to Jeffrey's tubes, and just these things again that just show that Aaron and everybody are just huge fans of everything Star Trek, which is just really wonderful to see. So I really love that. And the other thing is, and we've known this since day one, but as I was watching this season, it occurred to me again that none of our primary cast is human. None. And I thought that's really, really cool. Something that really that you'd only do on an animated format, but none of them are human. And I think that that's just amazing. And even the new primary, characters that are coming in, except for our legacy ones with Janeway, but the new ones are not human. Even Majel being a Vulcan, the doctor, now counselor, being Tellarite, and really also playing up the Tellarites and the Andorians. Yes, again, there's Journey to Babel, which I would argue is one of the most influential single episodes in all of Star Trek's history. But anyway, so that's my comments about that.
Tosser alert. Tosser alert.
Sorry, I zoned out. The tosser alerts throw me
He
for
had
a
a
loop.
good.
I
he
counted
had a
it.
good point.
It's a great point. It just tossed me around.
But
Oh.
Krista's turn.
I'm disappointed in my own pun. Sorry, Krista, take it, please.
I was just going to say, as relates to the Doctor, what I like about the Doctor character is that it provides a connection for Zero. Because in the first episode, Zero experiences things tangentially. He is it a he, she? What is
They.
the pronoun I'm looking
They,
for?
I think, yeah.
They?
Zero's a day.
I think they use they pronouns in the
All right,
show.
so
Yeah.
they experience things, but from a distance. And the thing that struck me in the first episode was that they were a part of things, but there was, I felt like there was sort of an underlying feeling of isolation. And then they encounter the Doctor, and the Doctor says, we're not the sum of our programming. We can extend beyond that. And I don't know that Zero would have come up with that. I think Zero would have just continued to be an observer, like a arbitrary feeler, an observer, but not necessarily interacting. And I think that and I've only watched the 2 episodes, but I think the interaction with the Doctor is going to be a huge mentorship for Zero to expand beyond. Eric, you're smiling, Matt, so I don't know if that means I'm right or wrong, or I'm just talking out of my ass.
I'm just excited for you to watch the rest of the season. That's all.
I can say with certainty that Matt's poker face goes both ways. His smile could,
absolutely. Yeah.
it could give everything away, and it could throw you in the complete opposite direction. There's no way to tell.
It's the only thing about Matt that goes both ways, but it does.
Do you know what was funny to me? Doll falls through the ceiling, and now we're gonna tell them all everything. It's like I was like that might not be my reaction to someone falling through the ceiling after overhearing a conversation and finding something that was supposed to remain secret. I wouldn't then necessarily divulge all of everything that heretofore has been kept secret. And I do think it's kind of funny that Jellicoe is the one that's pulling the plug. Just the name dropping of Jellicoe in general kind of cracks me up. But all right, that's more than I wanted to say.
I had to just throw in a quick thanks to Krista for that, because one of the things that always rubbed me the wrong way about the Doctor in Voyager was that apparently he became a heterosexual emotional being simply by being left on for too long. As though if I left my coffee machine on for a while, it would just become my best friend. That they took that and used it to make that transformation has just been now accepted and was now used to give Zero the transformation that Zero sort of starts to experience. Makes it all better for me. So thank you for fixing it. Thank you for the Band-Aid.
Yes, I think I'm very curious, and if anybody in the chat wants to share this tidbit, please
Anyone
do.
specific or just
How
anyone?
very pointed.
Just
How
anybody.
very pointed.
Just anybody. Just curious.
Anyone at all? Anyone?
Anybody in the chat, I would love to chat with you further at STLV and perhaps later in an episode of the Salon. But I am very curious if way back when, because Zero was plotted out in season 1 to be interested in medicine. And so I'm curious if this was just like, oh, this is actually really great. We get to have this interaction now, or how far back that planning may have happened, because it is such a wonderful thing to see the hologram who's gone through this whole process be able to share that experience with our new Medusan Starfleet hopeful. It was just lovely. Anybody else have other thoughts on any of our characters that we're introduced to in these first couple of episodes, including the ship? We can talk more about the ship. I have thoughts on the ship.
Before we go to the ship, there is one character that I'm really, really thrilled to see and learn more about, and I don't know if they have a name yet. Wait, do they have a name in the first 2 episodes?
Are you talking about the eye that we see?
Yes.
In the water? They have not been named yet.
Okay, then I won't name them, but I love them. That's all.
So let's talk about the ship. That's actually a great segue into talking about the ship. And also for anybody in the chat, I just want to be very clear that like the headers here, these are jokes. These are me being a wannabe writer.
Why would you have to apologize for that line? Is there something wrong with that line? Is there something wrong with making everything look like a sovereign class?
If you're Carol Freeman, yes. If you're me, no. I love this ship, although I do maintain it does not look super comfortable on the inside, but it is really fucking cool. The bridge, we've talked about this in our quick overview last week and on some other streams. This has grown on me. I've been like, wait, you have to climb over things? What's going on? But the bridge has grown on me. I love that we have wraparounds on either side. And I just love seeing Admiral Janeway have the command chair and the command area to herself. And I'm pretty sure Trevor agrees with me there. I also just love, like, everywhere that we drop these kids off. This is another question that I have. I'm just curious. Anybody wants to share this detail or not? Do you? But I loved that we saw in the dropping them off that I'm taking this as this is actually what we're seeing, not like if this were a live action, it would be camera cutting. The turbo lifts actually open onto these rooms on the ship. I have many times wondered, why doesn't the turbo lift opens directly onto the bridge? Why isn't there a turbo lift that opens directly onto engineering, directly into sick bay? And here with Voyager A, we have that. Love it.
And directly onto a holodeck.
And onto a holodeck. I love everything about it. Anybody else have other thoughts that they wanted to share on the ship?
I have a lot of thoughts, and I don't think that's going to be a surprise to a single person here or even in the audience at this point. I love that the warp core. I love what the warp core looks like. It does remind me of like a fountain at LAX or something. Like that's something that you would see, just like the sides cascading down. Like it does feel very airport fountain.
Well, I wonder it's not LAX because you can actually get up to that one.
I wonder if anyone in the chat might be able to reference the inspiration. I wonder. I don't know. Maybe
we're gonna keep beating this horse until he doesn't show up anymore. But
two scotches.
I mean, Sohail's in the chat. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
right.
That's what we were talking about. I do. I do think it is the perfect bridge between stylings. I am so happy that, and also the bridge, the angle that you had there, where you can actually see from the front all the way up. I do feel like maybe it's something with the 3D renderings or how the show's produced. There's a lot of very tight shots on the bridge. There's a lot of very like everyone is standing like this, which also admittedly is very 90s because you had to get everyone on the same camera cut. But seeing it fully stepped away, it actually is really beautiful. Like coming down, it is very Voyager adjacent. Like yeah, like that's beautiful. I mean, could it use a little more warmth and like, you know, sure, but that's also very Picard, and I had the exact same complaint about that. And this ship has carpets, as far as we can tell. So that
looks like it. It looks like it. The bridge. William.
The ship grows on me, and on my first watch, I kind of was like, oh, like it doesn't make. I'm sorry, Mr. Watke, but it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like some of the windows don't make sense on it because it's supposed to have 800 people on it, but some of those windows are probably like 3 and 4 stories tall. So I'm like, that's a big ass window, and they kind of don't make a whole lot of sense in terms of like where they're put on the ship itself. And then there's no impulse engines, which, like, as like a ship nerd myself, like I thought like at first I thought like there's like these lights that go up the sides of the engineering hull up to the saucer. I thought those were the impulse engines, but they're blue, and I was like, that's just the light. And then you can kind of see where they were gonna put them. So it's like, yeah, you can kind of see it there. It that was like the bummer. Like it was kind of like, oh, that's such a like easy detail to kind of miss. Which maybe there's an explanation for this. If there's like a headcanon thing that
I feel
maybe
like they
it
just
uses a
don't
different type of
glow
propulsion,
red.
doesn't use it. Maybe, but like I also like we see them everywhere else in it. In the magical blade of armor. Perfect. There we go. Because that actually is a great reference. If it had a blade of armor, I'd be like, perfect. I love that Voyager. But
I mean,
like,
maybe it's made of it. It actually
maybe
it does look chunky.
It does kind of look like that, actually.
It does look chunky.
Like that. Well, shit.
I'm
well,
sure it
prove
has
me
a blade of
wrong.
Yeah,
You're getting another whiskey neat out of me too, Aaron Watkey. But no, I mean, I think the ship is a really great. They really thought of like how to like take like the perfect like iconic pieces of a Sovereign class and a Voyager class and put them together. Like putting the engineering hull of an Intrepid class onto a Sovereign was really cool, and I think it's a great bridge between the two. Because at the time, I think Voyager was the most advanced class when it was launched, and then kind of like immediately after it was a Sovereign. So like those two ships competing to kind of have a hybrid ship is really cool. And I will be purchasing one of those when they become available as a little ship. But yeah, no, I love it. I think it definitely grows on me as the show goes on. It definitely grows on me. But like in the first 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, like it took a second, but I really do. By the end of the show, I love it.
We do have to mention how wonderful of and Ken, I feel like you should have jumped in on this earlier, but like that send off when we first see the Voyager A was very that the original movie, like
very
motion picture.
Yes, the motion picture. Thank you. I could not think of that.
What was that first motion picture about Star Trek called?
First motion, yeah, that first, like it was beautiful to see the actual flyover and be able to see everything from that angle. And it is just such. I want to see. I think that genuinely should be a rule in Star Trek that every new hero ship has to have a beautiful 360 flyby like that.
I'm gonna make a point here.
Oh, nine
a
minutes.
lot of new.
Hard to do 9 minutes and then 22.
I mean, we could do it. We'll let Aaron do it. I will say the one thing that is missing from like newer Star Trek is like that really cool beauty shot of the ship. Like we get it all the time, like mostly because like in TNG, it was more of a cost cutting measure. It was always the same shot. They just kind of reused it. But like I need to see angles of it. Like we didn't get much in Discovery, and I think we get a lot of really great shots of the Voyager A in this show, especially in the first 2 episodes. We really do. So you can tell they really took their time with the ship and like really loved the design. It wasn't just up there.
And the ship actually
I have to
looks
say,
fully real too. Yeah, go ahead. Like it doesn't look.
No.
That's the one time when you cut away, it doesn't look animated.
it does. It looks. It's a great looking ship, but this won't surprise anybody either that I'm a Constitution class kind of guy, and not Constitution 3 or whatever Neo Constitution that Picard had. I mean, Star Trek: The Motion Picture or Star Trek: The Original Series. So go ahead, Tosser alert. The other thing that I would say that they did here with the turbo lifts, I forget if it was a short trek or on Strange New Worlds, but it drove me nuts. They had a scene where the turbo lift looked like it was just flying through space. This gigantic, I forget which Star Trek it was one of the, I think it was Strange New Worlds. And it was like, the turbo lifts don't have that. And so to have the turbo lift shown in this first episode with the appropriate tubes and with them going and crossing that way with the right ratio, not necessarily with 78 decks like Star Trek 5, but that's okay. That was a great fix to whatever the heck that episode was with the turbo lift, Eternity turbo lifts, which still drive me nuts.
Oh,
Sorry.
the disco
soapbox now.
roller coaster.
No, Stranger
Did I hear
World
you
had a weird
disco?
one too.
Did it?
Ken, what I hear you
yeah.
saying, Ken, what I hear you saying is that you appreciate the shaft.
I appreciate, yes. I appreciate the shaft. That's what I appreciate. Yes. I do. Mhm. Either way,
This is a children's
56
show.
minutes in, and that's our first one.
Listen, we
This
It's a
already
children's show.
we
We
already
said
gave
it
the
wasn't.
disclaimer.
I feel so dirty.
We
I
gave a
was-
disclaimer.
The disclaimer. The show we're discussing is geared towards children. This mess is not. Like what?
And,
Like I'm
and
on my
families and
Look,
Trek fans.
I'm
It's
on my
geared
third
towards
old
all of
fashioned. This is not.
Montgomery Scott said it best in Star Trek 3. Up your shaft. So,
us. Yes.
He did say that.
You know who else said up your shaft? The Val Nakot. It's the
Love
best
the
segue.
the headdress.
Yeah.
Love it.
So let's talk about some of our plot bits. So we've got this secret mission happening on the ship, which we'll talk about, but we also have Gwendala meeting her people over on Salon for the first time to try and convince them that there are other species out there. It's not trying to avoid the civil war that was inadvertently caused by Chakotay's first contact in depicted in season 1. Thoughts on Salon and Gwen's mission, other than, or feel free to say that. I remember thinking, listen, this is in-universe criticism. This is not criticism of the show. Starfleet is so dumb. Like you're sending a child to initiate first contact. What is wrong with you? A Starfleet officer should have gone down with her. Be like,
It's
prove that we are cool. Like land a shuttle. Don't just appear out of nowhere. Like
here's
ooh.
my thing is, I understand why they sent her alone to the planet. Sure, fine. Why was her only escort some just pilot? Like they didn't send an attaché that was like, I'm gonna train you on how to talk. Like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be like.
You don't know that lieutenant's life.
Okay, well, she wasn't.
She could be part of the diplomatic
strong
corps, but
diplomat,
the president's office should have been alerted.
You know how her life ended, but you don't know her life.
Maybe she could have beamed out. Could have been emergency transport. She might be in a cave somewhere. You
We
never
know
know.
she was combustible.
She.
Jesus, Krista. Gosh. We know she's dead.
Who is it?
We know she was combustible.
God knows this
Sorry,
one
I
was.
was watching House of the Dragon. I'm telling you, life is brutal.
R.I.P.
Oh, no spoilers there. I gotta watch that still. But I heard the
I'm
last
not
episode.
saying
was-
anything, Ken.
Anyway,
Don't get your pants
Important-
in the wad. I'm not.
Important lesson for the
not
kids.
getting my no.
All right,
Don't play
Joanne,
with
what were
kids'
your thoughts on
matches,
Salon?
I thought Salon was gorgeous. I love, those worlds with a deep lore and the way they very quickly kind of established what was important to the inhabitants of Salem, and how, I guess, is it isolationist they were, or afraid kind of the universe. I too was kind of like, wow, it's an interesting choice to sing Gwen alone, but I think I kind of get it too. But I do appreciate, kind of back to the character things, how much kind of responsibility Gwen just has with um not only on Solomon, but with the crew. Just like when Dahl was spiraling out, he decides to call her, and then they have a little moment, and now, she's there, kind of establishing, a really important kind of connection with her own people. So I thought that that was really interesting. And I was not expecting, I was genuinely surprised to see what's old girl? Jamila Jamil.
Essentia.
Essentia.
Essentia, this bitch show up. One, I'm not a fan of the actor. And
We're gonna fight. We're gonna have our first disagreement. I love her.
see, well, and I'm gonna just say, I only know her from Legendary, where she was just
Oh,
a fucking idiot.
I heard that
And
too.
yes, and just very,
It's
just
hard because
very cringe.
she's really good in Good Place, but on Legendary it was like, Mama, she shit the bed. I was like,
Yes,
oh no no no
she
no
was
no.
horrible. She was
Yeah,
horrible.
but I like her in
So,
this. I like her
Yeah.
in this a
I
lot.
know her from The Good Place, so that was surprising. But yeah, I heard that too. I haven't watched it, but
yeah,
I heard
no. So
like
I'm
word of
carrying
mouth.
baggage, just like I do for what's his name, Titus. All I can hear is Lafayette. Da, 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 da. So,
Review Diggs, yeah, who was also name dropped on The Good Place.
yeah,
Yeah.
every time I hear him talk, I'm like, he's fluent in French. I mean, Lafayette. So, but no, I really loved I love Solom a lot. And I hope we get to see sort of more of this world. I think they're one of the more interesting characters
Mhm.
in the universe.
I love Essensia's like it. I don't want to call it mustache twirly because it's not quite that, but her Jamila's voice acting, it like again, this is an in-universe thing. Like the way she's talking, she's evil, guys. Come on, but it's just so juicy. I like I love every time she's kind of like Kai Wynn for me. She's the Kai Wynn of Prodigy. Every time she's on screen, I'm like, this cunt.
My child.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I thought it was a choice too. Like at
yeah,
first, but I was like, I guess it makes sense that she sounds like a colonizer.
yeah. She's like, they
I will
already
say,
know there is a spy among us. Yes.
I love that. I love that Essentia is a villain, and that in that she is just like a villain that is just a villain for villain's sake, because we get a lot of like, we talked about this when we went over the Kelvin movies, where like they always try and like make the villain humanize them in some way, and like Discovery tries to do this, but like making Essentia just like a stone cold bitch the entire fucking season is so good. Like her just being just like down, like I love a villain when they come on screen and I'm like, I go, oh no. Like I love when they come on and I'm like, not this one again, because in the first season she's so dastardly towards the end that like getting her again in this season and kind of building her up in that way was like so good for me. Like I love a villain that's like if we're a Game of Thrones reference, Joffrey, who comes on the screen and you just want to punch your TV. Like anytime she came on, I was just like, oh, this bitch. I was like on site ready to fight. Like I like absolutely detest her. But no, I loved it. I loved her in this. It was so funny. But like her coming out, I was like, yes, but also no. No, not her again. Fucking bitch, dude. Like fucking bitch on wheels. I live. I live.
And conversely, we get Iltheron, her father, Gwendala's father, who is a completely different character from season one because, of course, the timey-wimey stuff. It's super fun to see, like who he is before being I don't want to say corrupted by war, because war affects people and that's real, but before he becomes this war trauma diviner, he's actually a very warm, loving person. Something I've said this before, and I love. I think it's a byproduct of the limited runtime. In longer episodes of Trek in live action, you tend to have to get past a believability hurdle quite often. Like the character is going through something and they have to convince other characters that it's real, even though insane, unbelievable bullshit happens every week. They don't have time for that here. So he very quickly, and she proves it with her heirloom very quickly. But I feel like if these were longer episodes, if they did need to fill more time, there would be a whole scene of not believing her and her having to convince, and sometimes that gets exhausting in other Treks. So it's really cool what they're giving us so much in so few minutes, but what they end up not showing us, I think, is just as fun. Let's get past that hurdle and get into the real stories. They do it so well.
I also love that they anticipated well, why didn't she just show the Valnicut leaders her heirloom? But they set it up, right? Cynthia came out swinging like, no, this bitch stole her heirloom. And I mean, that's what I mean about just the crafting and the, anticipating and putting themselves in the audience's spot, like asking all of the randomness that Trek people love to ask. But also, again, just kind of establishing it for folk who don't have anything, who don't have any idea about what's going on. It was just, I thought that was such a nice move.
Anybody else have thoughts on Salon before we talk about our rescue mission? All right, well, let's just say it. I'm on the wrong one. Nope, there it is. Fuck that treaty. I love Admiral Janeway. I love that she's like, I have this ship. It's illegal. We're going to use it. We're going to save my bestie. Anybody have a problem with that? Not on this ship. I love it. At first I was like, oh, that ship is ugly. And then it really grew on me because it's like, oh, it's intended to not look like a Starfleet vessel, because it has a cloaking device. They're straight up breaking the treaty. But I don't want to make it like, oh, this is totally fine. But the Empire was a little busy falling apart. So what are they going to do? Be mad?
Should we talk about this in your homeworld or mine? Oh, yours is being evacuated? Sorry, I guess we won't do it on your homeworld. Too soon?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I kept wanting to hear. I kept hearing in my mind Will saying, as Janeway saying, they cloaked the ship.
We could cloak the ship. Yeah.
It should have had a blue alert. It really should have. Like, everybody take their treaty breaking stations. We are about to cloak the ship. Everybody, please take your treaty breaking stations.
I do really love the insult to injury it is for the Romulan Empire, though. Like, hey, we're going to go ahead and commit all of this time and resource to building this entire fleet. And, oh, by the way, go fuck yourselves. We can cloak now. Like, and if you have a problem with that, maybe the ships won't be there to save you. Like, it's very...
Oh, they would never.
Janeway learned that shit in the Delta Quadrant. She's like, no. We're being too nice. She brought the Delta Quadrant back with her. She's weathered now. She's like, do you really, really want to do this? Like, do you want to get in my way? Because I don't have to be Starfleet. My
headcanon is Janeway knew she needed to cloak ship in order to save Chakotay. So she's the one that created the supernova that's going to destroy Romulus. So she did it to get the cloaking device.
Yes.
She was like, fuck these people. I haven't seen them for a decade. I'm going to go find Chakotay. So, but we need a cloaking device. But her being like, I don't want to do anything illegal. Why don't we distract them? So she's like, over there. And she like launched
Romulus.
Look at Hobus. Look over at the Hobus system.
Yeah, she's like, wait, blow that up. Like, yeah, so she did that.
She got back and realized that scientist that she gave that message through in the wormhole never delivered the message, and she's like, you know what? Fuck this whole species. Like,
Yeah.
none of
she's
you
like,
can
bye.
be
Exactly.
She's like this Romulan. Yeah.
She's
This,
like,
is,
let's
this is
find
actually
some.
this is actually
Let's
the
go
plot of
find some-
Quentin Tarantino's movie.
Yeah, let's go find
Janeway
some. Let's
is-
go find some red matter. Get that red matter, whatever the fuck that is over here.
That was the original Red Directive.
Yeah,
Was
exactly.
For the red matter.
Why is everything red?
Red.
Oh my god. Just forget it.
Rit.
Live long.
Live long. Matt's malfunctioning.
Yeah. Matt's malfunctioning. Child endangerment 101.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to pop away. I'm going to put it on mute. If you're still here when I get back, I will rejoin. I have somebody that is desperately telling me that she needs to not be in here right now. So I'll be back.
Oh yeah. That good point. P alert.
Truly a
Yellow
yellow
alert,
or brown
yellow.
alert. Yeah, brown
Yellow
alert.
alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, yellow alert. Yellow alert.
Alert. Stan, you're on mute. Stan, you're on mute.
You're on mute, Stan.
Or
He knows.
having.
Oh no, he's not. Now we're having sound issues.
Oh.
Woo.
This will be fun. Everyone say whatever you want. He can't stop you.
Oh, now Stan, you right where I want you.
Whoa.
No.
What's happening? Can you hear me now?
There you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
This
She's
is
back.
like the third time that this has happened. I have not touched anything, and then my roadcaster just stops pulling from this microphone for whatever reason.
You're back just in time. Ken was about to do Khan's monologue from Star Trek 2, talking about rounding the nebula and all that fun stuff.
We will
No,
absolutely.
it's because we're talking about shit and we were about to go off the rails.
That's right. Go off the rails.
Talking about a brown alert.
We were, I was about to say we were close
Maelstrom
to it.
Expeditions Flames. I'm sorry.
I don't understand why going off the rails is treated as a bad thing.
It's not.
I think it's
Well,
treated as an
unless you're
anticipated
trained.
thing.
Chris
Unless
is
you're
like
trained.
you had to have rails in the first place to go off them, right?
Unless you're a trained. That was great, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Or a monorail.
That's true, but that's one rail.
Or a
Hence monorail.
streetcar.
Off the rails is or a streetcar if
Yeah.
you desire.
I was gonna make a cocaine joke.
Yeah.
Like, let's talk about rails, Baba. I've gone off the rails.
Oh,
I've gone on the
I was
rails.
going to
I've
talk
gone
about
off the rails.
something completely inappropriate.
And now for something completely different. Yeah.
Just saying.
Wow.
Just saying.
Thoughts on the
So
mission
Where were we?
today as we wrap up our salon?
We're talking about a kid's show right now. We've got
There was a
Give
disclaimer.
a disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
What's the disclaimer? There was a disclaimer. Besides, lots of
I'm
kid shows have trains.
I'm gonna have to I'm gonna wrap my head around it. I'm all right. Cockamamie.
Cockamamie. Which, by the way, I thought that was a Yiddish word. It has nothing to do
Word
with
of the
Yiddish. Saying, yeah, cockamamie.
All right.
So,
The word of the day.
yeah, cockamamie.
Probably earlier than 1940 to 1945, Americanism in its original sense, paper strip with an image that could be transferred to the skin when moistened. What?
Is that a tattoo? It's a temporary tattoo?
Did
Or
you have a
cock-
stroke partway through that? What did you start reading?
He was
What
trying
are
to
you
figure out
reading?
the origins of cockamamie, I think.
This is what this is from the dictionary.com.
Yeah.
Look at
That's
it.
about as official as it gets.
Read
the-
the one from Urban Dictionary. See
It
what we
used
got.
to be a
Oh,
tattoo.
don't do that. Don't
Current
do that.
ridiculous, probably in association with cock and bull story, poppycock,
Mhm.
etc.
Poppycock.
Poppycock is the one that, as a kid, that whenever I would hear it, it would get me giggling like a child that I was. Poppycock.
Poppycock.
Silliness.
Tomfoolery.
Pussy Willows for me. It was Pussy Willows. So
Anyway,
plan to rescue
so what are we talking
Chakotay.
about? The rescue
Plan to
Chakotay.
rescue Chakotay.
Yes, we need to rescue this.
I felt
Salon.
dirty when I said Pussy Willows as a kid.
That's what. Yeah,
that's a little insight into my childhood. Fuck off, Ken. Don't say anything.
I didn't say anything. That Will said
don't
it
know
first
my
word.
life.
You were not. You're right. Thank God.
Live long.
That's the Muppet Ken. Live long. So yes. So this circular thing happens when you have big balls in space.
Swat crash.
It is what happens when you have big balls in space. So, Stan, you're chasing
I'm trying to
around the
salvage
moons of.
this. I am trying to salvage this, and I'm doing a poor job of remembering the mute button this time. This time it was the mute button for me.
Okay.
Trevor, the tallies, please.
Oh, we're just straight up calling.
We're just done.
Or
Anna's like, suck it, it's over.
the hell with all of you.
Maybe we'll see you next week. Maybe you won't. Who cares?
What are your thoughts on the mission to save Chakotay, but keep the protostar on course for the past?
I approve of the plan.
Krista, what are your thoughts on this since you haven't seen ahead? What do you think's happening here? No, but no spoilers.
I'm sorry, with the little
The voice talking to Janeway.
Yeah, I think it's Chakotay. That's my guess right now. But I said that I would prefer it to be the prophets, but I'm not going to get my wish on that.
Q Junior.
TBD. Final thoughts on this?
It could actually be Wesley as a traveler.
Could be Wesley. Yeah, it could be Wesley, but I think it's Q Junior.
Q Junior.
Because Q Junior, Janeway is aunt.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Aunt Kathy.
And Kathy.
Final thoughts on the first 2 episodes of Star Trek Prodigy. I love them. I think they set up the season really well. We get some fun new characters. We get some fun old characters. We get our original crew back together for the most part, and then they separate and fun ensues. Love the ship. I'm excited to see more of it throughout the season, and I'm just so excited that Star Trek Prodigy is back. Streaming now on Netflix. Everybody watch it. Get your friends and family to watch it. Rewatch it. We want a season 3.
I will also say, because I've said it before, that the music, we didn't talk about the music at all. The music used to Voyager, and you heard a lot of the Voyager music, the Voyager theme you heard throughout Picard season 3 at key points. And here again, we have the Voyager theme here in Prodigy. And it's just a beautiful theme. Jerry Goldsmith originally composed it, which is just another wonderful throwback to all kinds of Star Trek history. So just want to say that too. Music was great.
Agreed. Joanne, any final thoughts?
No.
I like that you took the time to think about it, and thank you. The quickest aside, that moment reminded me of every time in a meeting when somebody's like, "Hey, you person connected to this project, do you have anything to add?" No, I'll just say, and then they do have something to add. It's just something I clock once in a while. So I appreciate that you said no, and you were honest about it, and you meant it. Thank you, Joanne. Krista, your final thoughts on these first 2 episodes?
It's a good start. I'm waiting to see where it goes.
Yeah. William?
I will say that I think this is my favorite opener episodes for a season we've gotten. Mm-hmm. We've had strong ones throughout, but I think this one, kind of knowing where the season goes, I think this lays probably the most solid foundation where maybe they wrote we talk about this all the time. I feel like sometimes they write these episodes like this. We have this long cinematic, long form storytelling throughout the season, and then they don't take the time to like write it ahead of time or know where each episode is going, and or like go back and then revisit some of the scripts or like the pilot to make sure that this, or the season opener, to make sure they're laying a strong enough foundation to carry the load of the season. And I think these 2 episodes really do that in a season that is very rich and full of detail and full of like, every episode is just so full of stuff that like to have a foundation strong enough to withhold all that, I think is like really, really, really a testament to the writers, but also the people who love that show and took the time to go, we know where this is going, here's how we have to start this out. So I think it's my favorite ones because it really made me kind of go, like, it felt like a warm hug kind of walking back into the show.
Yeah. Trevor, your final thoughts on these 2 episodes before we do our wrap up?
I'm filled with as much as excitement as I was the first time I watched them through to talk about them, just because I loved the hell out of the season's story, the entire arc for everyone, including characters who haven't appeared yet. And now we get to kind of experience it not only together and talking about it, but in those of us who haven't watched it all the way through yet. So I'm just overjoyed with giddiness.
I agree. I want to thank everybody in the audience for joining us. We always love to have a lively chat. Thank you to my fellow saloners. This is always lovely. It's my favorite part of the week, getting to chat about my favorite thing in the world, Star Trek. Well, my second favorite. My favorite thing is always my dog, but until she shits on the carpet, and then she's number 2 for a minute. But
get it, number 2.
Yeah, number 2 for a minute.
Yeah, I'm clever sometimes. This has been delightful. We will be back next week to talk about episodes 3 and 4. But before we go, and before we get our tally from Trevor, I do want to remind folks that we are at Salon Trek here on YouTube and Twitter and Blue Sky. And we would love for everybody to follow us. But if you happen to be connected to the show and would like to follow us so that we could message about potentially having you on the show, this show, the Salon Show, we would love to do that. Also excited to give you all the drinks in STLV. So Trevor, give us our tallies for the evening.
There were 2, count them 2, problematic gay alerts, 1 canon alert, 3 tosser alerts. Congratulations, Ken. 2 explosive saucer separations. Will landed the ship once. In terms of bonus points, we gave 31 to Matt for his fun new Kovich classes, 5,000 bonus points to Krista for not understanding the question but still nailing the assignment, an additional 25 bonus points to Krista for getting over cock, 300 bonus points to Joanne for being honest and in her feels, and 2 million bonus points plus a Scotch neat from all of us to Aaron Watke for joining us once again and for just being fucking awesome.
Cannot say it better. Yes, thank you, Aaron, for joining us in the chat. We love getting the extra details. And again, if anybody wants to follow us on all of the socials, please do. And again, if you're connected to the show and would like to be on this show to talk more about it, we would love to have that conversation. Until next week, we hope you all live long and prosper.